We're going to put you in a time machine tonight and show you some things that happened a lot of years ago, and then we're going to bring you up to date very quickly. And we're going to do all of that with one face that I'm sure will be very familiar to you as you see it now. And you'll see it suddenly transform through 40 years of time into the man with me now, Buster Crabbe. That was quite a transition, Buster.
I'll say about 40 years all of a sudden, Joe.
Now
what a shock. What a shock, even to me.
Listen, you look pretty good. That was 40 years ago about. Well, 36.
Yeah, 36. It was
Flash
40
Gordon
years ago.
series. Yeah.
40 years. Yes, it was 40 years ago.
Those were made for movies and then later released in television, right?
That's right. In 1950, 51, when television started to be an entity, started to roll, they couldn't at first, because of lack of revenue, afford the Gables and, you know,
Sure.
the Spencer Tracys, the Cary Grants, and the Gary Cooper pictures, Carole Lombard. But they could afford the things that I made, you know, $5 a shot, $10 a shot. And so I backed into television. I came from back out west to... I did a 5-day-a-week show on WR and then later changed to ABC. It was showing serials, you know, a kid show.
Well, thanks to Harmon Kushner, a fellow employee here at Channel 4.
He's a regular bandit. I think he stole all those things.
He has an incredible collection of pictures, and we're going to run through some of them now. And as we look at them, tell us what you recall about those days of Flash Gordon.
Well, this is, of course, the first series, and later on down, because we hadn't named, that's King of the Hawkmen. The fellow on the left, that's Dale and Jean Rogers. She's in her late 50s, early 60s now. I saw her last summer after about 30 years.
Right. Now this is
and this is King of the Claymen. They come out of the walls, and this is this third in the third series. This was made in 1940.
Right. Now, most of these people are dead. You were telling me earlier.
Well, yes. Charlie Middleton, who played Ming, has passed away about 21 years ago. Frank Shannon, the fellow on the right of the screen now, is dead. He played Dr. Zarkov.
Right.
It was Montague Love that played the King of the Claymen.
Right.
And here's the King of the Hawkmen again. He turned out to be a friend, not at first.
These were made for movies. Half hour, were they in length?
No, 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Approximately.
Now, how long would it take you to shoot the whole 20 minutes?
Well, we had to average, in order to bring it in 6 weeks, we had to average 85 setups a day. And with, you know, Joe, quite a chore. We were using the old cameras in those days, the open arc lights that they have to shift around.
Right.
And it took us 6 weeks, 85 shots, different setups a day.
Right.
A tough job. We ran from morning till night.
Right. You were how old when that picture was taken?
This was 28. This is 1936. That's Jean Rogers on the right. She was Dale Arden. And we just landed on the moon, I think.
You had
landed on Mongo.
Yeah. You never thought you'd probably see guys landing on the moon, I guess, when you made that?
Oh, no. No. This was a fantasy in the old days, just out of left field.
Pure fantasy. Well, now, those were revived for television. Is that when you had your biggest success after they were reissued for television?
Well, it started a whole new trend for me. Little did I didn't, number one, I didn't want to do the series in the first place because I thought it was too far out. And people were just not going to hold still for, you know, three crazy people in the rocket ship on Mongo running into all sorts of trouble and all. I didn't think it had a chance. However, it did because it was released in 1937 and was the second big money maker. The first series was the second big money maker at Universal Studio.
Really?
But little did I know that it was going to change my whole life later on, because the Flash Gordon and the serials that are done, Flash Gordon in particular and Buck Rogers, eased me into television 15 years later. So I came back east to go to work on television.
That was the Captain Gallant series, which...
Well, then, the Captain Gallant series we did in 54 and 56, and that was on NBC from 55 to late in 61, 62. H.A. Hines Company of Pittsburgh was our sponsor. And that was 65 half-hour shows done 2 different times, 54.
You're kind of unusual. You like to talk about these things. And now some actors and actresses who've moved beyond certain things cringe when you talk about, for example, Buddy Baer just hates to talk about his role in Beverly Hillbillies. He's gone on directing. You're not at all that way. You like to talk about it. Why do you think you do and some people don't?
Well, this has done a lot for me. I I know that Buddy's the director now.
Yeah.
I also knew his dad rather well. I met Buddy when he was when we were in Italy. We were doing the Captain Gallant series, 1956, and he was in Rome at that time. And we saw Buddy quite a bit of Buddy.
But you're not embarrassed by Flash Gordon's series, or it's a little corny today, or do you not think?
Well, it's a lot corny today, Joe. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
It's a lot corny. But there are a lot of people that are nostalgia people all over the country. This is a great, big, important fraternity.
Yeah, it sure is.
And this is the thing I fall back on from time to time. You know, you wonder after you get older what you've done, and maybe by some stretch of the imagination that listen, the kids in the old days are just like the kids now. They don't analyze, break down everything.
Yeah.
They were interested if you had a good fight in it, if you had an animal that looked real ferocious,
Yeah.
and you hung Flash up somewhere at the end of each, they would come back the next Saturday
Sure.
and excited. I was the same way, so was my brother.
Right.
Used to go see the Perils of Pauline, the Iron Hand, the Clutching Hand, the Iron Claw, things like that.
Okay, now you've now moved into new era. I've got your book here. It's written a book. If we can get a shot of
Oh, get a shot of the book, Joe.
Buster's book. You know, we're going to show this camera. Tell us about the book. Why did you write this? It's called Energistics.
I wrote it for the older people.
Now let's
the
talk.
seniors,
How old are you?
68. None of your
Wow.
business.
Okay, that's pretty good. If I were 68 and looked like that, I'd shout it from the rooftops.
It's not easy. You have to work at it. You have to do something for yourself. I wrote it for the older people.
Yeah.
Because I've read, I think, most everything about conditioning. I've read all about the diets, a lot of good diets. I read exercise programs, good. Dieting is not all of the ball game. When you diet, you have to exercise as well, because when you diet and you do it consciously, you'll lose weight, and you'd start to have to take up the slack by doing some exercise. That age doesn't enter into this.
Right.
This is true for anybody. But I wrote a book for the number one because I qualify. I'm well into the senior citizen category, and people, I think, kind of give up. There's nobody that's been worried about them. I decided to worry about my own fraternity.
Right.
And that is try to get them out of the chair, away from the television set for the moment, and start them on an easy conditioning program. Now, I had to be cautious in several respects. That there are many exercises, base exercises are by everybody.
Right.
But I had to be cautious about the ones I picked. They had to be simple enough, not too hard, not too easy, to go into the program. And I've set up 32 dry land exercises in the book, Energistics.
But now, excuse me, let me interrupt you. It always bothers me when guys like you have devoted your life to physical fitness expect
Basically,
the rest
that's
of us to do the same, because I haven't devoted my life, and most Americans have not.
But you see, you're making a mistake.
What is
You're making a mistake. God gave you a body, right?
Yeah.
God gave you a strong heart and everything like that.
Right.
And you've got to protect this by doing something about it, and that's by setting yourself up. I know that you're tired after the day's work is done and you want to go home and you want to relax, but you've got to get in exercise 2 or 3 times a week. I don't care if it's walking a half mile, really stepping out.
Yeah.
You've got to raise your heart, your pulse rate, your heartbeat. If you can condition your heart, everything else will fall into line. And then the second most exercise is this exercise, Joe.
Stop eating.
No, pushing away from the table,
Well,
which in effect means stop eating.
Yeah. Now, was there ever a time in your life when you got out of shape?
Yes.
When was that?
When I went from one picture to another for about 3.5, 4 months. You see, you deteriorate so quickly.
Yeah.
And I was over 200 pounds. I was 205, 6 pounds. My normal weight at that time, 190, 95. As I've got, my normal weight when I was swimming in the early 30s was 185 in that area.
Right.
I weigh 182 now. And I've tried to keep my weight around what I was when I was 25 years old.
Now, how much do you think heredity has to do with that? A lot of people tell us it doesn't matter what you do. If you have good genes and good parents, you'll live long. And if
Well,
you
I
don't,
think it's a plus factor if this was true.
Yeah.
But just because your father was a weakling is no reason to throw in the sponge. You got to be on your own.
Yeah.
You know,
Yes.
you got to do something for yourself.
Right. Well, now, very quickly, Can you give us a couple of exercises that are
Yeah,
in this
I,
book?
I thought you weren't going to ask. First,
Just take your, well, go ahead.
no, well, I'll get
There
it
you go.
here.
Okay.
The first thing is the warming up period for the older fellow.
Right.
And you got to go by it slowly. And one exercise is very simple to do. The reason I use the chair is that I don't want them to lose their balance, and they can help themselves a little bit.
Right.
Raise up on the balls of the feet. You understand, Joe?
Right.
And then down and bounce it a little bit. Now you're stretching the thigh muscle. Stretching, flexibility, elasticity, most important. Then up on the balls of the feet again and down to the starting position. And you do this until you start to feel it a little bit too much. You try to get to 20 eventually. But you start with 3 or 4 for a start.
Right.
Then you stretch the back and the back and the back and the back. Now I'm going to get out on the floor.
Okay.
And the first thing I'm going to do is kick off my shoes. Shouldn't exercise with shoes on, socks, or whatever. A very simple exercise would be knee, chest, and crossover. And it's done like this. Palms down. Bring up here. Crossover. Bring it back, knee, chest, and down again. Alternate the other side.
All right.
Very good exercise. And you don't have to, you're not going to be an Olympic champion. Then when you get better, you bring both legs up. Out. And down, and up, and down, up, and down. Now, when you get real good, then you don't put your feet down at all.
Keep them up off the floor.
Yeah. You see?
Now, that's something that...
Another... Go ahead.
No, that's right. Go
You
ahead.
asked the question.
Well, I was going to ask, that's somebody, say, 65 years old, who's out of shape, could do right now, as they're watching, could get down on the floor and do that. Wouldn't be
if they were... you can lay in bed in the morning, and you can get a fair exercise. Just get your fanny close to the edge of the bed, let your feet hang down over the bed, and raise them up again.
Right.
Like so.
Right.
Right? Another most important exercise for a lot of us, a lot of the older people get dizzy spells. And it's because of the calcium deposit in the medulla oblongata here, at the base of the neck. It's because the calcium is cutting off the blood flow to the veins, to the head. Right about a year and a half ago, I started to get dizzy spells. Didn't know why, but found out. Here's an exercise for you. Start with 2 each way at first, work up to 5, 10 a day, that's it. Slowly, you'll feel the cracking in your neck. You'll feel the cracking, that's the calcium. You do it twice this way, and then twice the other way. And work up to 5. Do that 2 or 3 days, and 3 times around this way and this way. And never a dizzy spell since. Amazing.
No danger of anybody trying that. They're
No.
not gonna hurt
Another
themselves.
thing they must be cautious of, if a fellow has and a girl has high blood pressure, you got to check with your doc first, Joe. You know that.
Right, of course. Yeah. But exercise still, even most doctors will encourage you to do some form of exercise.
Of course. I don't approve of jogging. I think jogging's bad because as you get older, you get calcium deposit in the lower back, and this is something you got to be cautious of.
Yeah.
Here's a way to cheat on a push-up
Okay.
for anybody. About this level, you see, you don't push all the way up like this type of thing,
Yeah.
but you go down on the knees this way
Your knees down.
and this way,
Okay.
and you're stretching your body as you go, and that's about it. I can go on for hours.
Well, what do you do every day yourself? What's
Me?
Yeah. How many hours do you exercise?
You tie me down. I work out in the gym 3 times a week. I think the first muscles that break down are the stomach muscles. So I do a lot of sit-ups and leg raises. And I swim every day. I'm home.
And you
1,000 to 4,000 yards.
really? Wow.
I think swimming without doubt. And in the book, I have 6 water exercises. I want the people to get in the water at least twice a week.
Well, our time has expired, Buster.
I'm sorry, Joe.
Well, me too. It's been fabulous. The book, and I've read this book, it's one of the best common sense books I've seen in a long time about dieting and exercise. It's called Energistics by Buster Crabbe. You have seen himself, the author, as he was before and as he is today, and I don't think there's that much difference. And if you're a living ad for what the book can teach you to do, I'm going to start.
Joe, flattery is going to get you no place. But I've really enjoyed being with you
Me
today.
too.
Thank you very much for
Thank you.
inviting me on your show.
Thank you for being with us. We'll be right back.